Hello everyone, my name is Anita, the kitchen organizer, and if you like okra and stew, this recipe is for you. Sit back, let me show you how to make this yummy okra soup. To be honest, I didn't go all out for this recipe. I used a little bit of everything I had in my freezer. I had some beef cuts, some chicken, some shaki. I threw them all in a pot and that was what I used to make this soup. So first you're going to season your protein with some seasoning cubes and some salt. I usually like to do that without adding any liquid and leave it to, cook in its juices for about 10 minutes before I now add enough liquid to make the broth. So what you're seeing here is me massaging the meat with the seasoning and just covering it and leaving it for about 10 minutes like I've said. Now after about 10 minutes I add some water to the pan or to the pot, and then I leave it to boil until my protein is done. Now let's talk about our okra. Here my okra is thoroughly washed with water and salt and all of the sand is off. I like to have two textures for my okra, some chopped and some blended. So here you see me chopping my okra. This is a little wider than regular, so I chopped it in 4, and then some I just cut them round. I like the disparity of having different sizes of okras to munch on in the soup. Now basically I chop up about half of the okra and then I blend the remaining one. If you don't know how to find fresh okra in the market, I'm going to show you the okra test, the ultimate okra test. When they bring a bunch of okra to you, pick it out, take the sharp end and try to snap it. If you snap it and it goes off once, it means that the okra is still fresh. If it doesn't, it means that the okra is not as fresh as it's meant to be. Now after blending my second half of okra, this is what it looks like. It is not super smooth, but it's smooth enough to have this kind of viscosity or draw. So these are the two textures of okra I typically like for my soup. You can go ahead and use whichever texture you deem fit. So now time for the soup proper. I start with some palm oil base. I heat up my palm oil, I do not bleach it. And when it's hot, I add my pepper mix. So this pepper mix is pretty much Tatashe shombo, onions, tomatoes, and basically what you would use for stew, besides the garlic and the ginger. Now I fry it a bit in the oil, and then I add the next ingredients. After frying for a few minutes, I add my crayfish. As you can see, I used about 2 tablespoons of crayfish. Add to your taste. I add my roux, I add some seasoning cubes, and then I add some salt if I need to. If not, I will just stir. Remember to be very careful with your seasoning. I always say this because you're going to add meat stock, and if your meat stock is as seasoned as it should, you do not want to over season your pot of food. Now when this has fried for a few minutes, I add my meat stock and I add my protein as well to the pot. The idea is just for everything to simmer in the stew before we move on to the next step. This okra is very simple to make, but I love the medley of having stew and okra together because I am a stew and okra fan. As it's simmering, I also add my dry fish and stock fish. This is also the part where you add any other thing you're using for your soup. So your pomo, your okra, that's your big crayfish, or whatever it is you're using. Like I said, I used what I had at home, and that is dry fish and stock fish. Now once I'm comfortable with the taste of everything in my pot, I add in my blended okra. Now it's going to take you a good amount of time to whisk the okra into the soup because you can see how thick it is, but that's okay. Just take your time, stir and separate it until you have everything properly incorporated. Now once I have everything properly incorporated into the soup, I go in with my chopped okras and then I put in my vegetable and my soup is just about done. The reason why I like to put my chopped okras towards the end is because I like the crunch that the okra gives and I don't want it to wilt. Now I also went in with some frozen vegetables that I had before, as you can see, but because I still wanted the freshness and vibrance of my vegetables, I also added some fresh ugu and also some uziza. Now at this point my soup is just about done. I stir it, combine everything and put off the heat immediately so that I don't lose the vibrance of my greens. Now for a bit of color, I just added, some chopped red shombos and tatashe just to give my food, the extra excitement. It's totally optional and you don't have to have it. And that's it, guys. My soup is done. Simple and easy, and that is how I make this very yummy okra and stew medley. And if you're not an okra and stew lover like I am, that's okay. I have another okra recipe on my page. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on the notification button so you get notified every time I release another video. Bye!